Over the last century of international football, one nation stands alone. They are the only team to play in every single World Cup, and they have lifted the trophy 5 times. Looking at that record, it's easy to assume this dominance is natural, that their success is a product of effortless magic or some inherited destiny on the pitch. But the facts tell a different story. The most recognizable identity in world sports actually emerged from profound disaster. Their defining characteristics were forged through a national trauma so severe it forced an entire country to rethink how it played the game. To understand that trauma, we look back to Rio in 1950. Brazil was hosting the World Cup and built the Maracanazo. It was a staggering structure, designed to pack nearly 200,000 people inside. The entire country treated victory as a mathematical certainty. Newspapers printed celebratory headlines. Musicians wrote victory anthems. And at the time, the team taking the field wore white. Then Uruguay beat them 2-1. The massive stadium fell completely silent. The goalkeeper, Moacir Barbosa, would spend the rest of his life unfairly carrying the blame for the loss. The defeat became known as the Maracanazo. It was a psychological collapse that ran so deep, Brazil decided to abandon its visual identity. They vowed to never wear those white shirts again. To replace them, they designed something new from the ashes of that defeat, a bright yellow jersey. It was a deliberate psychological break from the heartbreak of 1950. And in 1958, that new yellow shirt arrived on the global stage, worn by a skinny 17-year-old kid named Pelé. Alongside him was Garrincha, a player whose movements defied physics. Defenders simply could not stop him. Together, they drove Brazil to back-to-back world titles in 58 and 62, proving the ghosts of the Maracanazo were buried. This era peaked in 1970. Pelé, Jairzinho, Rivellino, Tostão. They won a 3rd World Cup. With passing and movement so fluid, they elevated the sport into pure art. Their final goal against Italy is still studied line by line today. But that 1970 squad was so brilliant, they created a heavy expectation. They convinced the world that Brazil had to win through sheer, beautiful magic. That expectation became a trap. Throughout the 1980s, Brazil produced thrilling, deeply entertaining teams that played gorgeous football, yet they kept losing. This chart tracks their World Cup victories. After the rapid spikes leading up to 1970, the line goes completely flat. For 24 long years, the most famous footballing nation on earth failed to win a single championship. To break that drought in 1994, Brazil had to pivot. Led by Romário, they abandoned the pure romance of the past. They played with strict discipline and calculated efficiency, eventually capturing their 4th star. They sacrificed aesthetic purity for cold, hard results. Surviving the modern era required a brutal trade-off. This cycle of suffering and reinvention reached its peak in 2002. Star striker Ronaldo embodied the nation's journey perfectly. He had endured catastrophic knee injuries and severe public setbacks. Many assumed his career was effectively over. Instead, he arrived at the tournament in Asia and scored 8 goals, including 2 in the final match against Germany. He carried the team directly to a historic 5th championship. That victory proved their capacity for resurrection. 5 stars, 5 championships. It cemented their status at the top of the global hierarchy. Fast forward to 2014. The World Cup returned to Brazil. The entire country saw an opportunity to finally erase the lingering memory of 1950 on their own soil. What they got instead was a modern nightmare. In the semifinal, Germany dismantled Brazil, 7-1. For a new generation of fans watching from the stands, the emotional devastation was absolute. Yet, history shows us exactly what happens next. Despite the crushing weight of public expectations and catastrophic losses, new heroes inevitably step onto the pitch to carry the burden forward. Brazil survives football's greatest heartbreaks by reinventing itself. They are defined by resurrection rather than invincibility, serving as the sport's ultimate surviving protagonists.